This is round two.
Yeah.
To get a second interview about everything, about what's going on in Lake Wales and on your election. So the questions I got for this is going based off of your first interview and plus your ad that you have on the Lake Wales Daily. So to start off, Lake Wales continues to grow. What steps are being taken to ensure that development enhances the city's character while also avoiding the negative impacts of rapid urbanization?
Yeah, well, and that's the challenge that every city is facing, and the answer remains the one that I've been giving. You have to make those decisions. You're not going to stop growth. Growth is a result of market forces and political realities that are beyond the control of a local municipality. So whenever you hear someone say, "I'll stop the growth," they don't know what they're talking about, or they're being dishonest with you. The challenge is, how do we maximize the benefits and minimize the negative impacts? And the only answer to that is good, proactive, strategic planning. And the city of Lake Wales has done that very well. So I always emphasize four. I could emphasize more, but the four steps were the Lake Wales Connected Plan, which last Friday night we just did the ribbon cutting downtown,
Yes.
and you see what's happening, and that's just the beginning of what's going to become, in my opinion, the most beautiful downtown in Polk County. The second step was establishing the 180 utility service area, which gives us much more control over how development comes and how it is done in our geographical area. The third step was the multimodal fee, which is a way that we can capture a lot more revenue from the developers that do come here in order to enhance transportation options and the quality of life for our citizens. And then the fourth one was Lake Wales Envision, which is an award-winning land use plan, a nationally recognized land use plan by the same people that did the Lake Wales Connected Plan, which basically prioritizes how will we develop the land around us to maintain a nice break between the city and the country and maintain green spaces and elevate the quality of design and build that's done in our city, while it all happens around us, as well as attracting, the kind of jobs that we need so that our citizens are not forced to travel hours to find gainful employment,
Yeah.
but they can do it right here. That's the only answer that I can come up with. I'm waiting for a better one, but I haven't heard it. And,
No,
and
that's
again, screaming about "I'll stop development" is not an answer.
no, for sure. Now, with over 50 steps, 50 action steps in the Lake Wales Connected Plan already in motion, and the passage of the Lake Wales Envision Plan, how do you ensure that these initiatives align with both residents and developers? Needs to move forward.
Sure. Well, the priorities always, I think, on what are the needs of the residents that live here in Lake Wales. And the way we did that was the Lake Wales Envision planning process had heavy citizen engagement. We were in this for almost all of 2023.
Yeah.
And what we tried to do was, make people aware we're doing this. There were several planning charrettes where we tried to get citizen input. And I know hundreds of our citizens did come. They spoke into it. This is what we want to see. This is where we want to see it. There were actual field trips out into the surrounding areas that were led by our consultants. So that's the way we try and do it all the time. What are our citizens saying to us? And so the Lake Wales Envision Plan prioritized what we heard from our citizens. What did they say they wanted? So that's how we do it. That's how we'll do it moving forward. With developers, we simply try to sell them on, this is actually going to be better for you. Developers are business people, and they're out to make money. But there's more to making money than just building the cheapest house you can. What if we can sell you on the quality of life that you have here? And so when we show the Lake Wales Envision Plan to a developer who is trying to bring workforce people in, what if we say to them, hey, one of the selling points is you're going to have the nicest parks. You're going to be a part of the most beautiful city that has a developing, life going into the downtown. So for developers, that's the selling point. Yes, we're going to make bigger demands of you, but the people that are coming here are coming for a quality of life that may not exist anywhere else in the county.
Oh yeah, that's very important
Yeah.
because they are building just to build.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And if you look at other places, it looks like just like houses, like
It's
just
just
copy paste, like a million.
And Louis, that's kind of what that's the concern we heard from our citizens. And by the way, we all share it. every one of us that drive 27 see that all the way. This row after row of rooftops that look exactly the same. And that was a concern when I came on the commission in the city of Lake Wales, by the way. It was already happening. There had already been, by the time I became the mayor of the city of Lake Wales in 2022, there had already been 12,000 housing units approved by the city commission. And so that, there was already a cry for, hey, this, we don't want this cookie cutter stuff. Okay, well, that's what, moved us forward to Lake Wales Envision. Let's raise our land use regulations. Let's raise our design standards, and let's try and get something that's unique and different.
Yeah, and that actually goes kind of with question 6, where I f- would you say that stricter policy kind of slowed things down as well?
Mhm.
So it solves the speed,
Mhm.
but it also creates quality because you don't want just anything you
Right.
want. You
Yeah,
want
it has. It definitely has. And so again, between the years 2017 and 2021, 8,000 houses were approved. All of the building that you're seeing happen along Buckmore and out around Walmart, all of that was already approved, or at least in second reading by the time I came onto the commission. It was coming fast.
so is would you say that's outside of the Envision plan that
Yes,
was
yes, all
okay?
of those were done before the Envision plan. Now, I will tell you that while we were adopting the new regulations for the Lake Wales Envision plan, I made it clear that I wasn't going to punish builders that had followed the rules and played by the rules up to that point. So some of them got approved, because they were already in process. But once we dropped the line, now these are our new regulations. And so when we were doing the Lake Wales Envision plan, we made it very clear there's not this will slow down the building because it's much higher quality. And part of what we're up against here is that the median income in Lake Wales doesn't show us a market for like the highest level of T&D development.
Yeah.
But we have 3 levels of development we can do here. And so I started to say there are a lot of factors. There are national factors that are slowing down the housing market. Central Florida has been a little insulated from some of those things, but it's going to catch up to us. You're already seeing it in the established housing market. We're still seeing some good sales in new market, but eventually that's going to come. But yeah, in Lake Wales, in the last, I don't want to be too specific because I may not be accurate, but I'm going to say in the last 8 or 9 months, we've had one proposal for new development come before us.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that right now because we've got plenty of inventory that's in the pipeline. But so that doesn't bother me. Um,
So to understand, so
mm,
everything that's being built currently now, so everyone could understand, that's past the
mm,
Lake, that's pre Lake Wells Envision plan.
almost all of it. In
And
fact, I
then
think all of it.
what is it? Which, like, do you know which company, which location is the beginning of that Lake Wells Envision plan that people could start to maybe hope for, look forward to? Um,
What company?
yeah, like, well, what area in town are they? Do you know that they're kind of building? Do you have any of that
We do
information?
not have one right now developer that has offered to build a T&D neighborhood in Lake Wales.
So the Lake Wells Envision plan towards the building homes
Mm,
hasn't even started yet.
no.
So everything is pre. So that's
Yeah.
and that's good to know because
Mm,
I think given my understanding, I'm looking, why are these homes being built the way it is?
yeah.
Because that's not what we,
Hmm.
what we all wanted.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. So
Yeah.
it hasn't even caught up to that.
Right, and I now we did have one very small part of the emphasis on the Lake Wales Envision plan is more infill, more density in the center of the city, so that we can preserve the outside areas of the city as much as possible. The urban or the I'm sorry the agricultural areas, the green spaces.
Yeah.
And we had one small development that was proposed around Lake Alta
Yeah.
Vista, and we had a real turnout against that from the residents that lived there and some other folks. Okay, they have the right, and we decided that since they really didn't want it, that we wouldn't, put it out there because the city was having to do things
Yeah.
for the builder. But it does kind of confuse you as a commissioner when you have leaders of the city who really came out strong for Lake Wales Envisioned, and then they get a plan like that, and then they come out and rebel against it. So we're trying to sort that out. But it's a good plan. It's the right thing for our city. It's what our people said they wanted. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Was it only people? Because like I live in that area, and
Okay.
I was for it, but I know I was literally in Ocala working,
Uh,
and I was like, there's no way I can make it.
yeah.
Um, but the fear people had was just, oh, it's more people coming,
Well, and
and
I actually lived for 16 years. I lived right on the corner of 701 Fourth, so I was
okay,
right by Lake Alt, and I understand. I mean, it's a densely packed little area. You've already got Bach North there, so the residents that lived there had two concerns. One, I think, was I understood, which is it's really crowded and we have trouble getting around. Okay, that makes sense to me, and I understand that. The second was that Lake Alta Vista has wildlife living in it, and it's a park, and we shouldn't disturb it. Well, I didn't buy that so much, but here was my stance on it. This, if all that land had been privately owned and the developer wanted to develop and was following the rules, I don't think we have a discussion here. But the city was having to do something unique to make that happen, and since the residents were against it, I didn't feel comfortable voting for it.
yeah.
So I'm like you. I think it would have really enhanced the area, but
I think the first initial was like 24 houses or something,
yeah,
and we're like, how in the world 24 houses
yeah,
will fit there?
yeah.
If it was a little bit less, I think it probably would have passed.
And it's
I
going to be developed. I think there's going to be 6 houses built there.
Oh no, no. Hopefully, is it
Uh,
going to be like the Lake Wells Vision type?
I don't know. I
Oh
don't
man.
know. I've not seen a new proposal, and I may not. They may just have to go through planning and zoning. But those would have been nice houses. They
Oh
really would
yeah,
have been
no. I've
high
seen the
quality
plan.
homes.
They
Yeah.
looked really
But
nice.
the unfortunate thing is that, again, I am very sympathetic to the people that live there. What bothered me were people that do not live there, who are consistent agitators in the city commission meeting, and they tend to go and just stoke fear and make accusations. And they did it against the developer there and against the city, and they just stir up controversy that was unfortunate. Again, it's
Yeah.
fine. The people that live there didn't want it, and that's their neighborhood, so I'm okay with that. But I'm like you. I think they would have. I think they would have seen some really good things happen from
Oh
that.
no, I for sure. Um, when we talked about like, last Friday was the grand
Mhm.
opening of Park Avenue, and but we see that there's $22.9 million in grants for street renovations and a $28 million investment in parks. Um, what's the next? What's the very next step? Like, what is the city's top priorities, and how do you plan to address those?
Well, when it comes to the raise grant, that those monies have to be used the way they're earmarked. We were given those monies by the federal government for specific projects related to what we're doing to our downtown. So we have to use them the way they told us to use them. So that will involve the same kind of renovation work that you see on Park Avenue and the Market Plaza will take place on First Street, Orange Avenue, A Street, and Central. Or no, Lincoln Avenue and Central. Orange, yeah, those 4 streets. So the next one in line, because we got a lot of the planning work done already, is for First Street. So
Oh,
that
nice.
was where you'll see the next, and that'll run all the way up to I can't remember the name of the park that where First Street terminates there on Wiltshire,
Okay.
and it'll run all the way down to Central once eventually. And it's all so if you go downtown and you walk Park Avenue and you walk the linear park and you really enjoy what you see there, you're going to see that all the way through this. That's what that $22.9 million will be used for.
It's
So
going to be really nice, and
yeah,
I love driving at night,
man, it's gorgeous.
seeing how bright everything
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Because when I remember first moving here, I see the potential, but it was so dark.
yes,
So when you drive by and you see it's so lit, it's
mhm,
like it seems a lot safer too with
yeah.
that.
And we're finding, my wife and I are finding excuses to go downtown now because we just enjoy the atmosphere so
Yeah,
much, and I will just know that it's already drawing attention in small business owners, investors when they see a city doing this kind of thing. It attracts them. So we've already hosted walkthroughs from 2 different trade or business organizations that are just there simply to scope it out, and they're thinking about what can we do down here now. We've seen a couple of small businesses open. I can't say that that's directly the result of, what we're doing. And neither one of these groups have done anything yet, but they're talking to us, and they're
yeah.
talking to us directly because of the investments we've made.
You think any anchor businesses?
That's what we need. we really need, and I can't say things,
Yeah, yeah.
but yes, I think what we're hoping is that soon there will be an attractional um, business
Business, yeah.
downtown. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Mhm.
As Lake Wells grows, how do you ensure to remain allow have the city stay safe and because when things grow,
Yeah.
crime
Yeah.
kind of increases. So
Yeah.
how do we implement so that way we keep things safe?
I will tell you that we've worked really hard to make sure that our police and fire services are keeping up with the pace. In the last 2 years, we've added 5 new patrol officers to our police force. We've added 1 new resource officer for the schools. We've added 3 new firefighters to the firefighting force. I'm thinking 67% of our firefighters are trained paramedics as well, which is a very high number for a local fire department. Just this last year, we purchased the first new fire engine that we've had in the city for like 20 years.
Oh wow.
It's a state of the art fire engine. We also are expanding our police department on Tillman Avenue. We just bought a building that's going to become an annex so that we can kind of spread out the operations. We're building a new fire station down on Nest Egg Road on the south side of town. Um, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but also in the way we're developing with the new developers on the south side, they're all having to plan their development so that the streets are interconnected, and we're creating a grid down there so that you can have better response times, so that
Yeah.
these fire engines don't get stuck on a crowded highway or something. The other thing you do is you try and make sure that your those personnel that serve your city in the safety areas are well compensated. There's a fierce competition in Polk County and in the state for police officers. Once they get trained, they become a valuable commodity, and so you've got to make sure that you're paying them well and they have good benefits. So we've worked hard to catch our police department up on the pay scale. I think we already offer one of the best benefit packages, but the pay scale, especially for a younger man or a younger woman, is important. So that's what we've been working on with our police over the last few years.
That's good. That's actually one of the questions is, with the expansion, that's gonna, I would assume, increase more police officers
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
fire departments. So,
and another thing, I'm sorry, as you were talking about that, our Officer Palmer just made a presentation in the last couple of months to our commission about installing red light cameras or speed sensors
yeah.
in our school zones because we have such a problem with speeding in the school zones. Well, that's a no-brainer just to increase the safety of our kids, especially along like Burns Avenue
Yeah.
where people
Oh, and
drive.
I've also seen them on buses now, like
Yeah,
those
the
little
cameras on
cameras.
the
Yeah.
buses to make sure they're not going around, and now that to me is the non-controversial part. I don't think anybody would argue with making sure our kids are kept safe. Then there's the other part where the red light cameras, and that'll be a little bit more controversial.
It is a hit or miss. I
Yeah,
like those were some things. The
yeah,
other things, it's like, it makes you slam the brakes
right.
hard.
Yes, and we've heard about that, so it's not a done deal yet. But
Yeah.
I think that we will certainly be doing the speed monitoring stuff and the safety monitoring stuff when it comes to the school zones. The red light cameras, that may have to be a little bit more discussion.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you've been aware, but I've been noticing, I want to say within the past like 6 months, I've been noticing more homeless people in
Yeah,
Lake Wells.
yeah.
And I've been, sometimes we go to the park at night, the lake in Lake Wells, like
Mm,
the trail at night walking. We see people sleeping on the benches
mhm.
there. There's literally a guy who like lives in his RV or his van out there in the park. In Lake Alta, there's people sleeping. You're starting to see this more around
Mm.
town. Like, how does the city resolve that?
Yeah, that's a difficult problem. Um, we have ordinances about that, but I will tell you that every time we instruct our officers, which when I say we, I mean our chief of police instructs our officers to enforce. Almost inevitably, we get threatened with legal action by some civil rights group. There are like civil rights laws for the homeless people, and we have to go back and rewrite and perfect and the local ordinances. So it really puts us in a difficult situation. You don't want to be um, uncaring or unfeeling or rough with people that are down on their
Yeah.
luck, but it does have a negative impact on the quality of life
Yeah, you don't want to
and
look like San
safety concern.
Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. And some of these folks are having drug problems and they get aggressive, and so that's a ticklish situation. The only answer that I have is that that's something you have to depend on your local police department to handle. And I mean, again, maybe increasing the way that we patrol in certain areas of town. I would encourage you, like any other citizen, to reach out and let us know. Like, for instance, hey, I've been seeing this happen at Lake Alta. Sometimes, city staff's just not aware of where these things are happening. But just know that that's the kind of the interesting part is there's this struggle between local ordinances that people want and they want to see them enforced, and then the kickback we get sometimes from national civil rights organizations when we
Yeah,
do
I would say, you know, keep kicking them out. It's a sad thing,
it. Yeah,
because you see, especially now, you see a lot of there's a lot of help
yeah,
now more than is
yeah,
ever. I
yeah.
know in Orlando, my wife and I, when she was in college, we volunteered
Mhm.
downtown, and you see there's some people who need the help,
Yeah,
some people they don't want the help,
they don't want the help.
and
Absolutely, yeah.
and that's the ones
And
where
I think if you could really clearly ascertain that, it would be an easy struggle.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it's not always so clear cut. And even when police do try and enforce that, sometimes it's okay. You catch the fish and you move them, and then they find another location. So I don't. I wished I had a better answer to that because it's kind of a new phenomenon. But that's about the best I can do right now.
yeah, no, for sure. Now, looking back on your term as a mayor, what initiative or project are you most proud of bringing to the commission, and what impact has it had on the city?
Well, um, I will tell you that when I decided to run for mayor, I part of the reason, amongst a few, was I was already excited about the vision that was there. At that point, early before I ever ran for mayor, when I was just a private citizen who was trying to help bring something downtown, I used to interact with cities that were growing and showing the kind of things that I hoped would come to our city, and invite leadership from that city and call informal like meetings with city leaders just to learn from them. And then when I saw the Lake Wales Connected plan roll out, I thought, yes, this is exactly. So I was excited about that. And so I have, from the time I've come on the commission, my two concerns has been to kind of restore some order and professionalism and civility and teamwork amongst the commissioners, one, and then to champion what I felt like was the perfect vision for a city like ours, which was already in place, and make sure that we kept the kind of atmosphere and cooperation to make that happen, to see it to the end.
That's for sure. It's pretty good. Now, um, so what I like about what you said is the whole teamwork, because
Right.
that's really important.
Yeah.
If you come in there and if you're completely against everyone else,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work. You can't be too far out. You have to find a way to solve the problem together.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, have you guys had an issue where you guys are it's we're not agreeing?
Yes.
We have to, like, how did you guys overcome that?
Well, I think we do it pretty well. I mean, here's the thing I would remind everyone of, or maybe they're not aware of it, is that Lake Wales, the way the city government is structured in Lake Wales, is what's called a weak mayor form of governance. So the mayor is kind of a ceremonial title. I have a few responsibilities that are unique to the position, and that's part of the charter, but there's no policy making power.
Yeah,
I can't unilaterally, the mayor can't unilaterally make a policy or make a declaration. It requires all five commissioners to be on board, or at least a majority. So it's important that all of those commissioners share the same ideas of what's good for the city, and or at least get to a point where we share ideas. And I would tell you that over the last 3 years, if people wanted to take the time and go back and look on actions that we have taken, there's been an extraordinary amount of unanimity amongst the five commissioners. There haven't been too many issues that we had strong disagreement on because we all kind of buy into the direction that the city is going in. But there have been a few, and that's fine. when that happens. The one that comes to my mind here recently, there was a motion to amend the way that comments were, and we've done this a couple times, but the most recent iteration of it, the way comments could be done in public meetings, and there was disagreement there, and it got voted down. The Lake Alta
Yeah.
project, that was not a unanimous. One or two of the commissioners really felt like we needed to move forward because it was good. Couple, three of us decided no, we needed to listen to the people that lived in the neighborhood, even if we disagreed. It was their neighborhood, so um, we usually are able to state what our feelings are, and we need to do that. But in the time that I've been there, at least amongst the commissioners, the disagreements have been civil, and we vote, and the majority wins, and you move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing about city staff and training, um, the Florida Leagues of Cities and the National League of Cities, like, have you like? I heard a city paid, like, pays the staff to do that, but do you guys attend those? Do you require those from the other commissions?
They're not required, they're offered. We have one commissioner who is a designated representative for us to the Florida League of Cities, and so we rely on that's Commissioner Gillespie. So she attends, I would assume, most of the meetings, and we rely on her to share with us anything that she believes is very important to the city of Lake Wales. So the Florida League of Cities, for instance, is, as I understand, their mission is to make sure to represent local governing interests, especially on the county and state and national levels, to make sure that local sovereignty is not violated or invaded. And so she attends those meetings, and if she feels like there's a legislative issue that we really need to pay attention to, then she would make us aware of that. Training opportunities are usually reserved for staff because the staff are the ones that need the professional development. They are the ones really that handle the day-to-day operations of the city. So they've got to keep up to date. They've got to be up to date all the time with law changes, legislative changes. And we offer those opportunities to commissioners. I will say a couple of things about that. All of us as commissioners, we all have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
You don't, I hear sometimes these crazy things out there about how we're all getting rich serving on the commission. Believe me, that's not true. So, to be able to take a long weekend to go to some conference somewhere most often doesn't fit the schedule. Even when it does, I did go to one early in my tenure as the mayor on community redevelopment in Fort Myers. Nice conference, but it cost the city to send me there and to put me up in a hotel and to pay for meals. And at the end of the time, all of our community redevelopment staff were there. So I thought, I'm not sure that it's a good use of our taxpayers' money for
It's
me
better
to,
to delegate
yeah,
less
let
people,
the
but
staff take advantage of that. So the way I learn is spending time with the staff, sitting with the city manager, visiting with the planning department. Just yesterday, I spent 2.5 hours with our city manager in meetings with some county commissioners. That's how I learn about things. Just go and talk to them about what does this mean? How does this work? To me, that's a better way to learn how to do the job.
that's really good. I like that. Delegate. I mean, in good leadership, you can't do everything.
No, and you shouldn't
You know.
try. And by the way, thank you because you made me think of something. Not only are we a weak mayor form of government, but we're a policy governance model, which basically means the city manager runs the day-to-day operations. All we do is set the guiding policies that he has to operate in, and then we can pass new resolutions that change those guiding policies. So yeah, it really is bad for a city if a commissioner gets too far down into the weeds and starts meddling around and stuff, and gets too activistic in the day to day operations. It's actually counterproductive to good, smooth running of the local city.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. Now, back to the city. A question. What do you see as the most urgent need for the city's infrastructure right now, and how do you intend to address that during the next term?
I would say the most urgent need, and again, when we talk about infrastructure, so often the only thing that people think about is roads.
Yeah.
And so you'll see candidates for office screaming about, oh, I'm gonna expand the roads and I'm gonna take care of this traffic and I'm gonna stop all the fatalities. And that's a good talking point on a campaign because it plays to the angst and the fear, but it's a ploy because the reality is we don't have any control over most of the roads around here, county roads and state highways. There's actually only city streets that we can control. And we've done pretty well on that. So in the last 2 years in the city of Lake Wales, we fully funded the resurfacing fund in our city. First time that's happened in decades. And several miles of our city streets have been resurfaced and will be resurfaced. But the most pressing thing when it comes to infrastructure, which means a lot, we've put high speed internet wire lines all the way through the city. We've expanded the airport. We're putting in new sidewalks and streetscapes all through the northwest section. We did a audit of all of our lighting and repaired all of our lighting throughout the downtown. Repaired, replaced. That's all infrastructure.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest one is still the management of water. How do we make sure that our people are getting the best water service at the most efficient price? And this is another area where I would say to our citizens, Lake Wales has done this better than any other municipality in Polk County. There are already municipalities in Polk County that have oversubscribed their pumping capacity, which they're assigned by SwiftMud. And so their citizens are being forced to purchase water from the Polk County Water Cooperative at rates that are much higher
Oh yeah.
than what we pay here in Polk or in Lake Wales. We're well under our pumping capacity. We won't get there till 2032 or 2035. And the reason is because of, you know, um, we've been requiring developers for years to put water saving devices, and we're the only 5-star water certified municipality. We've required them to put dry lines in so that potable water is not being used for irrigation. Um, and I would say to the north side of the town, we're looking into building a new water service treatment area so that the water pressure is the way it should be. We're looking at expanding our capacity that way. Just in the last couple of years, we did a watershed water management master plan, and that led us to putting in all new lines in the northwest area and down Buckmore Road, and we'll be doing that sort of thing. So I think that's probably the most pressing thing that comes up when it comes to infrastructure, and we've done it pretty well.
Yeah.
The other thing is the expansion of alternative forms of getting around town. So, we enacted the multimodal fee, and so that developers are paying money that stays right here in our city, and that's resulted in over $1 million of money in our local economy, which we've used for trails. The Park Avenue Connector Trail, and again, as a result, we're getting grant money. So the Tower Boulevard Trail will happen, the Kiwanis Loop Trail. Those trails will be connected to county trails, to state trails. The vision being
Nice.
that people will be able to get all over with just bikes or hiking. And then I mentioned this earlier. As new development comes into town, like on the south side of town, you'll see this. Every one of these new developers, when they planned, we made sure that their roads connected to one another so that there's a street grid for our local citizens as these new developments come in, where you can get from one side of town to the other without having to go on Highway 60, without having to access those crowded highways. It'll take a little while, but as they come in, you'll see that happen.
That's really nice. I know when you mentioned the trails, it is really nice to have that because coming from Orlando, we used to go on the Orange Blossom Trail
Yeah,
all the time,
yeah,
and I know it reached from like Apopka all the way down to
yeah,
Oakland,
yeah.
and it was very a lot of people used it.
Sure, and I'm our city's representative on the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, and that is a shared initiative across the county. So what we're doing with our trails, the eventual master plan is to connect with what the county's doing, and there is a state plan. So yeah, it's going to be really cool as it comes together. But already locally, you have ways to get around where if you want to, you can do it on a bike or walking.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Now, speaking of, you mentioned water. I saw an article online, something about a desalinization
Yeah,
plant.
yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Because it's 70% of the planet is water.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um, tell us about the do it's not part of the questions,
Sure, yeah.
but is that in the plans? Is that
It's
working? Like,
actually, I think, been built. It's way out on Tiger Creek Road,
oh,
and
okay,
that's the Polk County Water Cooperative. So several years ago, foreseeing that there's probably going to come a time when we are draining the upper aquifer, the upper Floridian aquifer, which is where we all get our water from.
yeah,
There was a desire to get down to the lower Floridian aquifer, which requires, I'm thinking, about an 8,000 foot
Oh
line.
wow.
And so a big, massive well had to be built. So all of the municipalities of Polk County formed the water cooperative to build these plants to get to the lower aquifer, and that is salt water. So that water has to go through
Oh, okay.
desalinization for people to use. And that's what I was referring to earlier, in that a lot of the municipalities are already having to subscribe to that because they've overpumped their permits in the upper aquifer. Well, it's good that we've got that resource. The problem is, obviously, getting that water, treating it, and getting it. It costs a lot more money. So the communities that are having to do that are paying a lot more for water. So what I'm happy about is that's there for us. We can buy into it, but we haven't had to this point because we've managed, what we've done pretty well, and we're well under our pumping capacity to this point.
Oh, that's good. So that's really good. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about is most current events that's been
Mhm.
coming out with the the concerns about outside influence, such as Floridians for senior care and the elections. How do you respond to these concerns and these mailers? I know you made a little video
Yeah,
about it, but could you talk about this, and also um, like what is someone from Tampa doing? Are they trying to make you look bad, or like trying to, or are they trying to,
yeah. That's hard to figure out, isn't it? Because I don't know that it helps me a lot, and I don't know. I don't know. Did I cut you off? I'm
No, 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 no,
gonna.
no.
Okay.
It's pretty much all together because
Yeah.
like when I look at it, I saw the mailers. I was like, oof,
Yep.
looks
Yep.
pretty tough.
Yeah.
Um, but from what I know, all the charges have been dropped on him.
Yeah.
But also it says Tampa, and that
Mhm.
caught me off guard. Is what does Tampa have to
Yeah.
do with Lake Wells?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Now, they've sent out several of those mailers, and the first couple were actually very complimentary of me. It was about me and good things that I've done, and of course, that's nice. But I didn't ask for it. And like I said in the video that I made, I didn't authorize those. I didn't design them. I didn't send them. I had nothing to do with it. So, but when people are saying nice things about you, okay,
Yeah,
that's
you're like,
great.
yeah, sure. I saw that and I was like, are they trying to do this to like get you in trouble?
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if that because that does that play a backlash on
Oh,
you or anything?
believe me, I've worried about that. Because some of the mailers about Curtis have been really stark, and they don't look good. And when you come home and open your mailbox, wow, that's rough. That's bare
Yeah,
knuckle stuff there, and I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have put that out there. So I don't know what they're. I really don't know, and I don't have any control over it. So
yeah.
all I can do is tell you what I know, and what I know is I don't know who's doing this. So
I remember also when another video from Grady Judd came out.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see you go out and post that as
no,
yourself, and
yeah,
that to me, I thought that was pretty good.
yeah.
You didn't dive in fighting or
Yeah,
anything.
and
You
I
didn't.
don't, and I guess all I would say about that is I really don't. If you look at my Facebook page, look at the things that I post. I don't. I've never attacked Curtis. And I would tell you honestly, he has me. He's made several false comments about me. He makes very specific statements about things I'm supposedly doing, which I'm not, and never have.
Yeah,
So I don't understand that, but I haven't done it. But when it comes to the Grady Judd thing, there's a difference there in that Curtis did that. Whether he meant to imply something or didn't, that's a current thing that he did, and people have the right to speak to it. And I think Sheriff Judd had the right to make the clarification. But yeah, I didn't. I'm not going to go out there and throw it out, but it sure got out there.
yeah,
The difference is, the stuff in the mailers is things from Curtis's background 8 years ago, 20 years ago, and people have to decide whether that matters to them. But I wouldn't have I wouldn't have dredged that up.
yeah.
You know,
Well, and I really like that, but I understand his side where he's
yeah,
like, this is coming from you,
yeah,
and then the other side is like, hey, I would look at the, go back to the greater judge stuff where
mhm,
you could have used that,
yeah,
and you decided not to. Other people, of course,
sure,
have, but that's
yeah.
and I think that shows some characteristics that people have to understand.
I hope so. I've heard. I try not to spend a lot of time on social media because it can be a very hostile environment.
That's where everyone, the warriors, come out,
Well, and it doesn't bring out the best in me sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's better for me to kind of stay away from it. But I've seen where people have admonished me, get your people under control. Well, they're not my people.
Yeah.
Folks are free to say, and I could say the same thing to Curtis, but I don't expect Curtis to police everyone's comments. I don't
Yeah.
expect Curtis to keep people. I only hold Curtis accountable for what Curtis says and the claims that he makes. And I think that's legitimate. I think it's legitimate for people to call him out if he says something that's inaccurate or dishonest, or applaud him if he does something that's good. But I don't expect Curtis to police everyone else.
Now, when all this settles, like after like April 2nd, is there a way to amend things?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't like it. I don't like, I hear people when I don't like what the local elections have become. And again, people are automatically going to say that I had something to do with that. And the only defense I can offer is go back. I've run for office twice. You can look at every post I've ever made, see if I've ever attacked anyone, see if I've ever slandered anyone. Go and then read, in the last election, I was accused of embezzling money by a local newspaper without any evidence, and by a local attorney with no evidence. I've been accused of being in bed with developers with no evidence. People just say these things. So I guess, yeah, I wished it wasn't like this. I wish that we would just talk about, this is what I would do, this is what I have done. Make your decisions. But yeah, I got over it the last time. It makes you a little angry, but you get
Yeah.
over it. In fact, that's kind of what stunned me, because Curtis and I had lunch together, and we were very, I think, kind to one another and had a friendship. So that kind of stunned me. And I would imagine we'll get over it again.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I hope it'd be nice for the city stays unified,
Yeah.
despite, stuff.
Yeah, it's not fun constantly being at war with people.
It's
I don't
sad
think
as
anybody
politics.
likes that. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not, I don't carry chips on my shoulder, and I don't have an agenda. So I really just try and show up and do what I think is best for the city.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I try to go as fast as I can. I know your time
No,
is
no, no.
short.
I appreciate it,
Well,
and I
thank you. Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming and doing it. So thank you for giving me the time to talk with you.
Awesome. Is there anything else you wanna say?
No, I think that's fine. It's 3 weeks to election day from today, so I hope that this helps everyone to make up your mind, and don't forget to vote.
Yeah. Awesome.